I'm Shona Maguire. I make music under the name Plum, which is electro-pop, kind of left field. I won Best Electronic Act in the Scottish Alternative Music Awards last year, and I studied music production at Point Blank. A major factor of choosing Point Blank was because the tutors had industry experience, and it was really very evident when we sat in the classes. That was the most interesting part of learning from them was, you know, they were talking about the history of the changes. So when they were in the studio or when they used to work in the studio, maybe like 20 years ago, the techniques were slightly different, but now the new software had been developed because of that. So we got a better understanding of why the software had been designed in that way, because they'd been using older sort of equipment and things. So yeah, it was really interesting. When I first started here, everybody was asked, I think it was Ian McKenzie was asking the class, what kind of music do you want to do? And they went around the class and there was about 9 of us in the class and everybody had an answer. And when they asked me, I didn't know what kind of music I wanted to make. So I was kind of embarrassed because I thought everyone else knows. They were saying house or like drum and bass. Lots of people said drum and bass. One guy was doing happy hardcore and I just had no idea. I was like, I don't know. So it was quite interesting trying all the different lessons that we had here and the different projects they gave us. The first track I did there was loads of samples of a kid's voice and lots of strange filters and effects on it. And then the second one I did was kind of like really, really dark electro. And then eventually I became confident enough to use my own voice because I was really nervous about doing that. Where I am now is like an amalgamation of everything that we learnt. But there was definitely a point on the course where I noticed that a couple of my songs were starting to sound in the same ballpark. And I thought, oh, they sound like my stuff. Like, so that's quite a nice feeling when you get that kind of your own sound. I had done work experience in a recording studio before, which I really enjoyed, but it was kind of like the level at which they were teaching me was over my head. So I wanted to learn practical experience. I didn't really want to learn theory. I didn't really want to do it for any kind of certificate. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to be able to do production. I did get certificates as part of the course, but yeah, I really wanted to get the practical experience, and that's what it gave me. I wrote a couple of songs when I lived in Korea, and then I wanted to come and learn how to produce and get back into that when I moved back to the UK, so that's why I came here. Living in East London probably got me to experiment a lot more than I might have done if I was living in a different city. This area has got a certain vibe to it that is ahead of the curve, or it certainly was then. It was more experimental or more encouraging of being experimental. I think moving to Scotland and establishing myself in Scotland was good for getting an award to my name that's a national award, and you know, that was great. But in terms of helping the career, I think you do have to move somewhere close to London or New York or Berlin, and that's why I left, because after the award there was sort of not really much else that I could do in Scotland. Start in London, go back to Scotland, do something there, and then come back with some kind of accreditation. Book the studio as much as possible. If it still works in the way that it worked when I was here, you could book in. You will wish that you had that for the rest of the time that you're a musician. Since the course, I've just looked back and thought, to have a studio I could just book out and go in and use all the equipment for free. It's amazing. So yeah, that's the single piece of advice I would give them. Keep practicing in the studio, because that's invaluable.